Ag is brought to you by Terry County Tractor.
In tonight's Focus on Ag, some live animal imports through the southern border will now cease after the parasite screwworm was detected in cattle in Mexico. U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins made the announcement today. Live cattle, horses, and bison will not be allowed entry into the U.S. for a while. Secretary Rollins said today the USDA will uphold the suspension on a month-to-month basis. There are about 1.5 million cattle transported from Mexico to the U.S. annually, a majority of which go to the Texas Panhandle. New World screwworm burrows into the flesh of a living animal and causes serious, often deadly damage. It can infect livestock, pets, wildlife, sometimes birds, and in rare cases, even humans. The first case in Mexico was reported to the U.S. in November of last year. The USDA then shut down the border for live animal trade. It wasn't reopened until this February when the U.S. and Mexico agreed to implement a pre-clearance inspection and treatment protocol for the animals. Then, just last month, the USDA announced an agreement that will send American aircraft into Mexico to spread pesticides aimed at eradicating the worm. In the agency's announcement today, it said despite mutual efforts by the U.S. and by Mexico, there continues to be, quote, unacceptable northward advancement of the screwworm. Secretary Rollins said the protection of American animals and the safety of our nation's food supply is now a national security issue. That's why the imports will be stopped. The Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association released a statement of support for the USDA's decision tonight. President Carl Ray Polk Jr. says, quote, while this action represents short-term challenges for cattle raisers, it's a critical step to secure the long-term health of the U.S. cattle herd.